Hello, Virgo. Um, Algorithms don't care about destiny. You're here because an equation decided you'd click, because engagement patterns predicted your behavior, because data points compiled over thousands of interactions determined this content matches your consumption history closely enough that serving it to you increases probability of interaction, which increases platform retention, which increases advertising revenue. Not because the universe conspired to show you this exact message at this exact moment, not because fate intervened, not because some cosmic force knew you needed to see this and manipulated digital infrastructure to ensure delivery. Just math. Cold, precise, optimization, focused math that treats your attention as commodity and your curiosity as exploitable resource. Um, but you don't want to believe that, do you? Want to believe this moment means something, that finding this, clicking this, reading this, um, it's synchronicity, alignment, proof that you're on right path, tuned to right frequency, about to receive information that changes everything, which is exactly why the title works. Exactly why I thought you'd never see this triggers something, activates something, makes you feel like you've stumbled onto secret, like you've beaten odds, like your presence here is miraculous rather than mathematically predictable. So let's examine that. Let's pull apart why you want this to be special, why you need this moment to mean something, why you're reading hoping this delivers on implied promise that what you're about to encounter is so important, so rare, so specifically meant for you that the creator genuinely believed you'd never find it. Except I didn't think anything. I'm not speaking to you from place of having doubted your arrival. This isn't reunion after assumed impossibility. This is just content. Designed to activate specific emotional response. Designed to make you feel chosen, special, like you've discovered something hidden rather than like you've been served something calculated. And recognizing that, recognizing the machinery behind the magic doesn't make you less special, doesn't diminish your worth, just makes you aware, makes you conscious participant in content consumption rather than passive recipient of messages you're convinced are personally delivered by forces beyond human control. Ribcage expanding like it forgot how to hold breath properly. I thought you'd never see this. Implying what? Implying scarcity. Implying that somehow, among infinite content constantly generated and distributed across platforms, this specific piece was so obscure, so hidden, so unlikely to reach you that its creator had resigned themselves to your absence. But that's not how any of this works. Content wants to be seen. Creators want audiences. Platforms want engagement. The entire infrastructure is built to maximize visibility, to ensure content finds audiences most likely to interact with it, to minimize the distance between creation and consumption. So, no, nobody thought you'd never see this. If anything, algorithms thought you definitely would see this, thought you were prime candidate, thought your behavioral patterns made you ideal recipient for this specific type of content at this specific moment in your consumption cycle. And that precision, that targeting, it's not magical, it's mechanical, it's data analysis, it's pattern recognition. It's the same process that serves you ads for products you mentioned once in private conversation, that recommends content before you know you want it, that makes you feel seen by technology that's actually just predicting based on past behavior. So your arrival here isn't miracle, isn't fate, isn't cosmic timing. It's just effective content distribution doing exactly what it's designed to do, getting you here, getting you engaged, getting you to believe this moment matters in ways that benefit platform more than they benefit you. And maybe that sounds cynical. Maybe it feels like I'm stripping magic from a moment you wanted to be meaningful. But awareness isn't cynicism. Understanding systems isn't destroying meaning. Recognizing how content distribution works doesn't prevent you from finding value in what you consume. It just shifts the value, shifts it from external validation, universe wanted me to see this, to internal discernment. I'm choosing to engage with this, and I'm aware of systems influencing that choice, which is more empowering, more honest, more aligned with reality of how digital content actually reaches audiences in era of algorithmic curation. Throat dry like I've been talking for hours without pause. Virgos, plural, not you specifically, not individual, addressed personally. Virgos, the astrological demographic, the category, the audience segment that content like this targets, because astrology engaged users demonstrate high engagement rates, strong sharing behavior, consistent return patterns. You're not special recipient. You're member of demographic, part of audience. One of many Virgos who will encounter this content and feel like it's speaking directly to them when it's actually speaking broadly to category of people who share birth month range and tendency to seek meaning in astrological frameworks. And that's not diminishment, that's just accuracy. You are one of many, content designed for many, algorithms serving too many. Title suggesting rarity. I thought you'd never see this. While structure ensures maximum visibility to target demographic. So how many Virgos will see this? Hundreds probably, maybe thousands, depending on engagement, on sharing, on how well it performs in initial hours after publication. Each one will feel like they found it. Each one will feel like moment is synchronistic. Each one will feel personally addressed despite being part of mass distribution to categorized audience. And that's the tension. That's the uncomfortable truth beneath personalized feeling of astrological content. It feels personal while being categorical, feels specific while being general, feels like message meant for you while being message meant for demographic you're part of, which doesn't mean you can't find value in it. Doesn't mean resonance you feel is invalid. Just means resonance comes from you, from your interpretation, from your application of general statements to specific life, rather than from content being specifically created with your unique situation in mind. Because it wasn't. Because I don't know you. Because nobody creating content for astrological demographic knows individual consumers. They know patterns, tendencies, common experiences among people born during certain date ranges, and they create content addressing those commonalities in language that feels personal enough to create engagement. And you're engaging, which means it's working, means you feel seen even though you're being categorized, means you feel addressed even though you're being generalized to, means you're finding personal meaning in impersonal content, which again isn't wrong, just worth being conscious about, worth recognizing the mechanism so you're not giving away your power to feeling of being cosmically selected when you're actually being algorithmically targeted. Stomach nodding like it's trying to tie itself into impossible shapes. I thought you'd never see this. Past tense. Thought meaning belief that has since been proven wrong by your presence here, meaning assumption that turned out false, meaning doubt that your arrival has resolved. But when did this thinking happen? When did creator doubt your arrival? Before posting? During creation? In moments between publication and your discovery? Or never? Because this is just linguistic device designed to create feeling rather than expression of actual thought process. Because if creator genuinely thought you'd never see this, why create it? Why publish it? Why distribute it through platforms designed to maximize visibility if genuine belief was that target audience would never encounter it? That's contradiction. That's paradox. That's claiming doubt while taking actions that contradict that doubt. So either creator didn't actually think you'd never see this, they hoped you would, intended you would, designed distribution to ensure you would, or they did think you'd never see it and they created it anyway for reasons that have nothing to do with you seeing it. Created it for themselves, for process, for expression that didn't depend on audience reception. But if latter were true, why publish? Why make public? Why use algorithms and platforms and targeting if creation was self-contained, audience independent, not designed for consumption? See the contradiction? See the impossibility of title being literally true? See how it's device rather than description, feeling generator rather than factual statement about creators' genuine thoughts regarding your likelihood of encountering this content? And recognizing device doesn't destroy its effectiveness. You're still here, still reading, still engaged despite seeing mechanism, because devices work even when visible. Because emotional triggers fire even when you understand what's pulling them. Because feeling of being specially selected, of beating odds, of finding hidden message, that feeling has value even when you know it's manufactured. Just different value. Value that comes from your choice to engage rather than from belief that universe chose you to receive this. Value that's yours to determine rather than externally assigned by cosmic forces or algorithmic selection. Shoulders burning like they've been holding weight. I refuse to acknowledge. Never. Absolute term. Total negation. Complete absence of possibility. Never. See, this means zero chance, zero probability, zero pathway between creation and reception. And yet here you are, seeing it, which means never was wrong, which means thought was incorrect, which means impossible happened, or none of that, or never was hyperbole, exaggeration for effect, dramatic language designed to make moment feel more significant than it actually is, because unlikely isn't never, improbable isn't impossible. And content distributed through algorithmic platforms to targeted demographics isn't ever really never going to reach that demographic. It's just question of timing, of when, not if. So you were always going to see this, or always was possibility you'd see this, or algorithms increase probability you'd see this, to point where your arrival is expected outcome rather than miraculous exception, which means never was never accurate, was always just language choice designed to create emotional response. And it worked. It got you here, got you reading, got you feeling like you've encountered something rare, something hidden, something you almost missed but miraculously found. When reality is you were served content that you were statistically likely to engage with based on data platforms have collected about your preferences, behaviors, patterns. No miracle, no synchronicity, no cosmic intervention ensuring you saw this despite creators' doubt, just systems working as designed, content reaching intended audience. Algorithms doing what algorithms do. You encountering material predicted to resonate with your demographic category, which is fine, which is just how content distribution works in digital age, which doesn't need to be mystified or romanticized or elevated to spiritual significance to have value. It can just be what it is. Content you found or that found you and chose to engage with, but you want more than that, don't you? Want this to mean something bigger. Want your presence here to be sign, to be message, to be confirmation that you're on right path or making right choices or aligned with some larger purpose. Want to believe algorithm is tool of destiny rather than just tool of engagement optimization. And maybe it is. Maybe there's no contradiction between algorithmic targeting and cosmic alignment. Maybe systems can serve purposes beyond their designed function. Maybe finding this at this moment does mean something beyond mathematical probability of content reaching intended demographic. But you have to add that meaning. You have to choose that interpretation. You have to decide whether your arrival here is significant or coincidental, meaningful or mundane, cosmic or computational. Content doesn't decide that for you. Title doesn't determine that for you. Only you choose what this moment means in context of your life. So choose consciously, choose with awareness of systems at play, choose recognizing both mechanical and potentially meaningful dimensions of how you got here. Don't just default to magical thinking because it feels better than acknowledging algorithmic targeting. Don't just assume significance because title implies rarity. Examine, question, decide for yourself what this encounter means based on your actual experience rather than on emotional response title was designed to trigger jaw aching from tension I'm maintaining without awareness. Virgos, again, astrological category. But what does that actually mean? What connects you to other people born during late August through late September range? What makes you categorically similar enough that content created for this demographic feels personally relevant? Nothing inherent, nothing cosmic, nothing determined by planetary positions at moment of birth, just shared cultural narrative, shared archetype, shared set of descriptions and tendencies and characteristics that you've internalized, that you've identified with, that you use as framework for understanding yourself and your behavior. And once you identify as Virgo, once you accept astrological category as meaningful, content targeting that category will feel relevant. Not because content knows you, not because stars determine personality, but because you're interpreting general statements through specific lens, finding connections between broad descriptions and personal experience, making content relevant through your own meaning-making process, which is fine, which is how all meaning-making works. We take general concepts and apply them specifically. We find ourselves in categories. We use frameworks, astrological, psychological, cultural, to make sense of experience. Nothing wrong with that. Just worth being conscious about, worth recognizing that relevance you feel when consuming astrological content comes from you, from your interpretive work, from your application of general to specific, not from content being specifically created with your unique situation in mind, because it wasn't, because creators don't know you, because astrological content speaks in generalities designed to feel specific through readers' interpretation, and that's not deception. That's just how categorical content works, how demographic targeting functions, how generalized messages create personalized feelings. So when you encounter content addressing Virgos, when you feel seen by descriptions of your sign, when you resonate with astrological analysis, you're resonating with your own interpretation, with your application of general framework to specific life, with your choice to find meaning in categorical content, which is active, not passive, which is your work, not contents magic, which is empowering once you recognize it, because it means you're creating relevance, you're generating meaning, you're choosing what resonates rather than being chosen by cosmic forces communicating through astrological frameworks. Fingernails digging into palms, creating small crescents of pressure. I thought you'd never see this. Let's return to this. Let's sit with it more completely. Because beyond mechanical analysis of content distribution, beyond examination of algorithmic targeting, there's something else happening here. Something about desire, about need, about wanting to be seen, to be found, to be reached despite odds, because that's what title activates. Not just feeling of discovery, feeling of being discovered, of someone, universe, creator, cosmic force thinking of you specifically, doubting they'd reach you, being pleasantly surprised by your arrival. You're not just finding content, you're being found, you're being seen, you're being reached despite assumed impossibility. And that feeling, that's deep need, universal need, human need to be seen, to be known, to be reached even when we feel unreachable, to matter enough that our absence would be noticed, our presence would be celebrated, our arrival would defy expectation. So you want this title to be true. Want Creator to have genuinely doubted your arrival so that your presence here becomes small victory, small miracle, small evidence that you're not invisible, not forgettable, not lost in masses of content consumers who all blur together into statistical averages. You're here, you're reading, you're seen, and title promises that your being seen is remarkable rather than routine, special rather than expected, unlikely rather than algorithmically predicted. But giving that need to content creator, to title, to implication that your arrival is surprising, that's giving away power. That's making your visibility dependent on external acknowledgement rather than internal knowing. That's treating being seen as gift someone gives you rather than reality you create through showing up, through being present, through existing visibly in world. You don't need content to see you. You don't need titles to validate your visibility. You don't need creators to be surprised by your arrival for your presence to matter. You're already visible, already present, already here, regardless of who notices, who expects it, who thought it was likely or unlikely. And shifting from needing to be seen to knowing you're visible, that's the work. That's the growth. That's what would actually serve you more than consuming content that promises you're special for encountering it. Because you are special, not because you found this, not because algorithms serve this to you, not because you're part of demographic being targeted, but because you exist, because your unique combination of experiences, perspectives, choices that nobody else has or is or makes exactly like you do. That specialness doesn't need external confirmation, doesn't need content to validate it, doesn't need titles promising rarity to make it real. It just is. And recognizing that, that's what makes you actually special rather than categorically addressed. chest expanding and contracting with rhythm that feels slightly irregular. See, here's the thing about content consumption. In age of algorithmic curation and demographic targeting, it's endless, infinite, perpetually available. You could spend entire life consuming content designed to make you feel seen, feel special, feel like universe is communicating directly with you through digital media, and you'd never run out, never reach end, never satisfy hunger for external validation that content promises but can't actually deliver, because content can't deliver belonging, can't deliver worth, can't deliver the feeling of being known that you're actually seeking when you click on titles promising cosmic significance or personal relevance or unlikely discovery. Content can trigger temporary feeling, can create momentary resonance, can make you feel briefly like you're being addressed specifically, even when you're being categorized generally. But that feeling fades, always fades. And then you're seeking next hit, next content piece, next title, promising you're about to discover something rare, something special, something you almost missed but miraculously found. And cycle continues, consumption continues. Search for external validation through content continues without ever actually satisfying what you're hungry for, which is knowing yourself, which is seeing yourself, which is recognizing your own worth, independent of whether content reflects it back to you, which is internal work, not content consumption, not algorithmic engagement, not seeking yourself in generalizations about your astrological sign or personality type or demographic category. Internal work, self-knowledge, the slow, unglamorous, content-free process of actually getting to know yourself through experience, through reflection, through making choices and observing consequences and adjusting behavior and developing self-awareness that doesn't depend on external mirrors constantly validating your existence. That's what would actually serve you more than this content, more than this reading, more than any title promising cosmic significance or unlikely discovery. Just sitting with yourself, knowing yourself, being yourself without needing content to confirm you're doing it right. But that's harder. That's slower. That's less immediately satisfying than clicking on content that promises instant recognition, immediate resonance, quick validation that you're seen and special and exactly where you need to be. So you consume, you engage, you click titles promising significance, and you get temporary feeling, and you seek next one. And cycle continues until maybe eventually you recognize pattern, recognize hunger, recognize that content consumption isn't actually feeding what you're actually starving for, and then you stop, you turn inward. You do actual work of becoming known to yourself instead of seeking to be known through content designed to make you feel known without actually knowing you at all. That's the shift. That's the growth. That's what would actually change things rather than just changing how you feel temporarily about things that don't actually change. Whole body releasing tension gradually like ice melting into water. So no, I didn't think you'd never see this. I knew exactly how content distribution works. New algorithms would serve this to demographics most likely to engage. New title would trigger feeling of unlikely discovery that increases engagement probability. Knew you'd arrive here feeling like you found something hidden when you were actually served, something calculated. And I'm telling you this not to diminish you, not to make you feel manipulated, not to strip meaning from moment you wanted to be significant, but to make you conscious, to make you aware, to shift you from passive recipient of algorithmically served content to active chooser of what you consume and what meaning you assign to that consumption. Because you have power, you have choice, you have capacity to engage with content consciously rather than reactively, to recognize systems without being controlled by them, to find value in what you consume without needing to mystify the process of how it reached you. Your presence here isn't miracle, but your consciousness about your presence here, that could be transformative. That could shift how you consume all content. That could free you from endless cycle of seeking external validation through media designed to trigger that seeking without ever satisfying it. So here you are, you saw this, not because I thought you never would, because systems worked as designed, and now you choose. Choose whether to continue consuming unconsciously or to engage consciously. Choose whether to seek yourself in content or to know yourself through presence. Choose whether to need external seeing or to trust internal knowing. That choice, that's what matters. Not whether you were supposed to see this, but what you do now that you have. Truth isn't found in others' stories. It's discovered in your own silence. No predictions, just presence. Stay curious, stay awake.